Hi, my name's Simon, and I'm going to talk to you today about the role of STEM skills in fulfilling your career opportunities and realising the career adventures you've got ahead of you. For many people, starting out at the beginning of their career or actually on the journey through their career, it can be a daunting exercise. Because actually one of the big challenges about our careers and the things we take on in our work is that often things don't make sense until we look back across what's already happened to us. I can remember being a high school student who'd studied science and maths and was thinking about what I was going to choose in university, what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I picked the kind of easy option. I put aside my interest in science and took on a new challenge in terms of the career I wanted to have. But oddly enough, my career has actually led me back to working in technology, to working in entrepreneurship. And what I want to do today is share with you some of that journey, what I learnt across that experience, and some of the things you can take forward in your careers. I really want to focus on a couple of the key skills that come out of the Foundation for Young Australians report into the future of work. The Foundation for Young Australians has shared a number of key enterprise skills which are very closely related to STEM skills. They're things like critical thinking, things like problem solving, communication, presentation, and these skills are fundamental to the way we go about our careers. One of the key things I learned in my career was you need to keep applying these skills. When I left university, I really wanted to be a CEO. I really wanted to be a CEO of a business. I had these bold ambitions. I was incredibly, maybe arrogant, certainly ambitious. And about 10 years after I left university, I actually had a bit of a crisis. I actually had this moment where I questioned what I was trying to do. And the reason was I'd been working away, trying to get my foot on the various rungs of the ladder, step after step. And to be honest, I'd spent 10 years stumbling. I'd spent 10 years missing out on the opportunities I really wanted. Maybe I was chasing things for the wrong reason, but what I did at that point was I actually reflected on what I was trying to achieve, and I went back to some basics. I went back to some of the core things. And one of the funny things that was happened is when I explicitly gave up on that goal of being a CEO, 2 years later I was appointed CEO of HiCaps, a health claiming platform in Australia. So sometimes funny things happen. One of the key things I did when I had that transition in my career is I refocused on solving problems. Entrepreneurs, business people, careers are based around solving problems every day. And the STEM skills you have make you ideally placed for this opportunity. One of the reasons why I needed to move beyond my legal career was I had a very early experience where one day a client rang me up and wanted me to document a deal they'd done. And I realised as they were talking to me, I was far more interested in their job than my job. I wanted to solve the problems they were solving, not the legal problems I had to solve. And so immediately I had to start thinking about a change in career. Now, some 30 years later, I now lead a global network of consultants in change agents worldwide, and at the same time, I'm working with a startup here in Australia called LanternPay, running its growth in a really important initiative, which is to bring a new claim payment platform to Australia to enable easy and simple financial transactions in the healthcare, disability and aged care sector. You could not have predicted that I would end up where I ended up from where I started. To be honest, the last 10 years worth of my jobs didn't exist when I began my career. So it's important to just focus on solving the problems that are in front of you and continuing to add value as you work along. One of the big things you discover when you try and tackle problems is you realise the best problems are bigger than one person. Collaboration is so essential to get things done. Isaac Newton spoke about his amazing achievements being because he stood on the shoulders of giants. And I think we all have this incredible opportunity to learn from others, to work with others. And with the technologies now available to us, that opportunity exists all around the world. Those technologies didn't exist when I started my career. In fact, I was working in a media company in the 1990s when the World Wide Web was created. And I can tell you, one of the things I found incredibly powerful was diving into brand new online communities just to work out what this thing was and what our media company would be able to do with it. And I continue that today. Change Agents Worldwide is a global network of consultants who focus on this future of work. We work together to share best practices, to collaborate on projects. And that's fundamental to being able to not just do the best work I can do, but also learn from the best work around the world. And each of you can think about how your networks and communities can foster that change. Learning by doing is really a core piece. If you've been studying science or technology or engineering or mathematics, you've been practicing this in experiments and other exercises, but it needs to go on your whole life. And one of the core reasons that happens is because sometimes those experiments fail. And some of the best things that can happen in your life are the result of failed experiments. Many of you would know of companies like Twitter and Slack, which are global giants now, that are actually both the result of failed experiments. Startups that didn't work and they've moved on to other things. So I had this experience early on and have learnt on the job ever since. And I've in fact even pushed myself to go into opportunities where I don't necessarily quite have the skills to succeed and learn from that environment. I even once took on the job of being the marketing director of a toy company with no marketing experience. My boss told me not to say anything in meetings for the first month because I was literally dangerous. I had to study at night, I had to learn from my colleagues, I had to work really hard to develop my skills. But it was an amazing experience in growth of understanding and gives me skills I still use today. If you're having a career in STEM, you must be a curious person. Leverage that curiosity through your whole career. At one point, I wanted to learn more about how the internet worked. I had to teach myself HTML. I had to pull out code books. I had to join online communities. I built a few websites. Most of them were awful. But what I learned from that experience was an ability to leverage curiosity to understand how things plug together. And I continue to use that expertise today. At one point in my career, I was the sales and marketing director of an early e-commerce startup in Australia called wishlist.com.au. If you remember back to Web 1.0, most of them crashed and burned. Wishlist didn't, and it was the curiosity that we had in Wishlist that enabled us to survive. All our competitors were collapsing around us, and what we were doing was asking ourselves really hard questions about how we could make this business survive. It turned out that we were too early for e-commerce in Australia, but the capabilities we had in terms of websites, databases of products, warehouses, actually proved to be perfect for fulfillment of loyalty programs and other people's commerce. And so that business survived. So retain your curiosity and keep working forward. Learning is fundamental. Look for the opportunity to stretch yourself and develop your skills. About halfway through my career, I was given the chance to lead National Australia Bank's launch of its new corporate university. And the key thing I took about this was the opportunity to learn about learning. All of a sudden I was stretched into how do I help 40,000 people learn their jobs more effectively? And one of the key concepts I took away from this was the idea of mastery. Don't see skills as achieving a fixed level of attainment. See your skills as something where there's ever greater ability to improve and perform and continue to grow and develop. Mastery is a fundamental concept and it's at the heart of all great performance. So as you go forward, there are plenty of great problems and challenges to solve in the world. The key opportunity that each of you has is to go out and create your own change. And creating change in this world is surprisingly easy. Many years ago, 3 friends and I, who were passionate about the idea of sharing work out loud, decided, in a somewhat light-hearted conversation, that we wanted to create an international working out loud week. We wanted to advocate this concept to the whole planet. We didn't ask ourselves what authority was required to launch International Working Out Loud Week. We just went out and wrote some blog posts, shared it on social media, and started. Our initial goal was that it would be a success if all 3 of us stuck it out for the whole week. Amazingly, by the end of that first International Working Out Loud Week, we had over 3,000 people around the world joining in with us and advocating the concept of working out loud and sharing their work in practice. It's now 6 years later, and the last Working Out Loud Week we had over 20,000 people involved in it. And there is now major working out loud movements in Germany, in Spain, in Italy, Austria, and all around the world. To see a little idea that began as 3 people having a bit of fun actually reach out and have a global impact shows you the power of what you might be able to do if you start to tackle some change in this world. And last but by no means least, remember to have fun along the journey. Careers can feel like serious endeavours, but it's actually the fun and the adventure and the achievement that you're really going to remember as you go through your career. And those experiences are ones you have with other people. So think about how your networks are going to enable you to have fantastic fun in the adventures that lie ahead. So thank you very much for the time today. I wish you all the best with your career adventures and good luck.